Don't touch.
What is it?
It's vintage.
Wendell and Wild is a welcome return to stop-motion filmmaking from creator Henry Selick. This spooky adventure lives up to the hype. How do they do it? What goes into making a full-length stop-motion film like Wendell and Wild? Why use stop-motion and not just computer animation? Stick around to find out.
You've never seen this before.
Number 1. Sound the alarm! During filming, there were several major delays from various world events, including the studio almost burning down. Henry Selick describes some of their challenges. We had COVID. We had the pandemic show up and we couldn't all work at home because we have to have stages and lights, and with live action, we have to be there. But that's not all. Selick explained 2 summers ago, we had forest fires come so close we had to evacuate all the puppets from the studio. And this movie needed puppets. The worry was real. Selick emphasized, we need the puppets because they're very valuable and hard to make, and they take a lot of time. So we rescued all the puppets just in case, but the fires never quite got there and we were able to bring them back. The key was to never give up. In Selick's words, we're animators. We have infinite patience. Number 2. Is there a how-to book? Wendell and Wild were inspired by Selick's kids and named by Henry himself, but artist Pablo Lobato brought their visual concept to life. Selick had been a big fan of Lobato and asked the artist to create the Pablo Picasso-inspired caricatures. Each Wendell and Wild character has about 120 face shapes built to get a full range of expression. A team of people worked to create each of the individual puppets, printing, painting, sewing costumes, and working with the internal skeletons, or armatures. Because of their frequent bending and moving, the puppets also required regular repair and maintenance over the course of the production.
Thank you.
Number 3. Not the kind you're thinking. For the making of Wendell and Wild, most of the puppets were built to have their faces entirely replaced. The team made the puppets this way so that animators can provide more detail in their facial expressions while filming a scene. Rather than have movable facial features, the team went with replaceable face masks, held in place by tiny magnets. The seams left on the faces by those masks also add to the spooky aesthetic.
Ugh, no thanks.
New name, new beginning.
Number 4. When we think of stop-motion films, we usually think of the characters moving little by little. Usually, we forget about the world the story takes place in, and the backgrounds that need to be created for the action to take place in. As far as stop-motion films go, Wendell and Wild saw an unusual amount of set building take place. Creator Henry Selick said, there was plenty of world building, especially on the interiors. The exteriors often added backgrounds later. And what a fantastical world it was. When watching Wendell and Wild, it's easy to notice the special attention to detail of the world, particularly in how it seems to be falling apart. Selick said, on the sets, there's lots of treatments to give them a sense of history or use or abuse. I think we took that idea farther than maybe the other films I've worked on. Number 5. Are there any other kind? When we think of stop motion, we think of bendy, flexible puppets, painstakingly animated, one small adjustment at a time. But what keeps the pieces of the puppet together? And how do they not fall apart after so many bends and adjustments? Each of these miniature actors actually has a very special skeleton inside. These special skeletons are called armatures, and they are precision tools made with finely tunable settings to suit the ergonomic preferences of the individual stop-motion animator working with the puppet. Need to move an elbow but it's too stiff? There's an adjustment for that. Need to bend a knee but it won't stay in place? Tighten up the setting to your preference. Number 6. To us, it seems there is a fine line between computer animation and stop motion. And with the power and efficiency of CGI and digital animation, what makes it worthwhile to spend all that time animating a character in stop motion? Henry Selick has thought about this and seems to have an answer to the question.
Why do stop motion anymore? What's the point of it?
He said,
we've had decades of perfect CG animation, CG effects for live action, and a little sense of handmade becomes fresh and new.
Number 7. World events and other obstacles aside, animating a stop-motion film is very labor-intensive, and we all want to know, how long did it take to get a few minutes of story on film? Here's what Selick said. Seconds. We talked in seconds. It all depends on how many characters are in the scene and how complicated it is. If it's mainly a talking scene and not a lot of action, then those are faster. And who is behind these seconds? Selick explained, "We usually have one animator on a shot that could be anywhere from 2 seconds to 10 seconds long. Could be anywhere from 4 days to 2 weeks. It's very long, but we don't have a lot of reshoots. We have probably a 99% success rate once we've set up the shot, and we do kind of a rough rehearsal. Luckily, whenever they shot it, they usually did it as a one-take wonder." Number 8. Do You Dare Enter? Creator Henry Selick describes Wendell and Wild's underworld setting as something a little different. The underworld in the film is not the hell. It's called the Scream Fair, and it's where the souls of the danged go. Not the damned, but the danged. The crooked lawyers and meter maids, the bad people, but not the truly bad. Together, Selick, Peele, and the team created a world where Wendell and Wild are trying to cross over into the land of the living in order to create their own amusement park called the Dream Fair, which is a more favorable place for the danged to go. Number 9. You know how they can be. Wendell and Wild started as a short story and some sketches that Henry made years ago when his kids were very young. The kids were doing things like jumping on Henry's new guitar, which inspired him to create the idea of Wendell and Wild, because in Henry's words, they were somewhat demonic at times. Wendell and Wild has evolved in many ways since that day. The story we see now is co-written with Get Out director and writer Jordan Peele, and you might even say that the finished film is bewitching. Number 10. The Dynamic Duo. Selick was a big fan of Key and Peele and reached out to the duo to see if they could find a project to collaborate on, thinking, what the hell, I'll reach out. They probably don't know who I am or anything else. He wanted to work with them. It was just about finding the right project to invite them onto. Wendell and Wild was the first project that Selick felt inspired to reach out for a collaboration with the comedians, as the two demon characters' dynamic felt like a Key and Peele skit. Number 11. Time to Party. Selick met with Jordan Peele and read over the pages that he had for Wendell and Wild. While Henry felt like reaching out to Peele was a long shot, Jordan later said,
"My secret that I was like a huge fan."
Jordan was prompted to get more involved and came on board as a writer-producer for the film. Jordan ended up contributing significantly to the characters as we know them, and had a voice in shaping a number of other details as well. Peele left production for a short time to work on his film Get Out, and when he came back, he felt he needed to start pitching Wendell and Wild before Get Out released, for a fear that if the short failed, it would hurt the progress of Wendell and Wild. Fortunately for everyone, Get Out was a huge success and actually ended up helping the hype around Wendell and Wild.
And the best part, 3, 2, 1.
Are we ever glad that Slick reached out to that dynamic duo?
Any last words?
What about the stop motion process was most curious for you? Let us know in the comments below.